Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the ASCORS Grand National Series. And last week they were at Daytona for the Super Speedway Racing. This week we're going road course racing here at Montreal. My name is Sam Dyer. With me I've got Tyler Riggs. And Tyler, it's going to be a wild one. It's after Super Speedway Racing, all about the draft. Now it's all about technical driving and using your brakes.
Yeah, talk about just, whiplash from week to week. Like you mentioned, super speedway straight to a very technical and sneaky road course here. This is a very flowy road course. You got to really be on it, especially these Xfinity cars, Sam. These things might be some of the more tough ones to drive, from the NASCAR series in general in terms of just on road course.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch these drivers going through what usually is a course meant for F1 cars, now going to be in much bigger, wider, and, can you take a beating machines of stock car racing? This week's going to be slightly different. Our two-time winner of last week, Zach Novak, is not here today. We've actually got a smaller field than usual here for the road course racing at Montreal. Also, some other cues to watch out for is starting in the back is going to be your two-time winner of Jimmy Mullis, who we were watching during practice, a favorite to probably get the pole and be up front. Is going to be starting back there, as well as Derek Justice.
Yeah, for Mullis, he comes in. We mentioned last week at Daytona about the point situation and how with Aaron Mulrooney Jr. taking a kind of a rough day there, excuse me, that has pole vaulted Jimmy Mullis into the points lead slightly over Jacob Fisher by 2 points. And speaking of those cats, let's look at this top 10 here starting out for this race. Brian Mercurio taking that pole, Sam, had a big pickup from his practice time to his qualifying time, put down a 140.141 there, so a pretty nice lap. You got Will Klein coming kind of out of nowhere from his practice time to qualify second. Briar LaPrade in third there. Nate S. Stewart in fourth. Jacob Fisher, we just mentioned him, the 84. He's in fifth for this race. Starting out, Evan Rice back there in sixth. Scott R. Taylor in seventh. Will Cooley, who had a pretty solid showing at Daytona last week up until the end where he got involved in the wreck. He'll start at eighth. And then with the aforementioned Aaron Mulrooney Jr., former points leader, started ninth in this one. And then Timmy Pacquioli in 86 there, started 10th. And Sam, those were the 10 drivers that got down a qualifying lap. You mentioned Jimmy Mullis, he's going to start 14th in this one. Derek Justice is starting P11 just outside the top 10 there. Also some guys like Michael Finlayson that might, show some speed here and there. And so really it is a surprising start order.
It really is, but the pace car is up and we are green here at Montreal, and it's going to be moving up front. Brian Mercurio going to be doing the best that he can to hold off the rest of this field, but everyone has to kind of play nice here in these first couple of corners as they're all so jam-packed.
Yeah, you got to be real careful. You don't want to cause a big wreck by missing a mark or just getting in too hot into it.
And right now, top three machines looking good. And this course is going to be very interesting for most of these drivers. They got to be careful not to overshoot these rumble strips. And most of this racetrack is a lot of chicanes that you've got to go weaving in and out of. So these drivers are going to be having to utilize a lot of focus, make sure they don't overshoot the chicanes. A side-by-side action for second. Briar LaPrade making a move here on Nate Stewart.
Yeah, nice clean pass there by LaPrade. Just use that opportunity down the straightaway right there, and that's a good passing zone. I hope Mercurio got a little loose, or maybe overshot the corner a bit.
And overshot it, and possibly has to yield after overshooting that corner. Will be losing a lot of positions here, losing all the way back to 7th place at this point. Now giving Briar LaPrade the lead at the moment, coming to the longest stretch here as drivers are going to be inching their ways, trying to make sure that they can stay close to one another. But based off of qualifying, our top three were the fastest cars out here. But a car that's on the move, that's going to be Derek Justice in that 16 machine.
Yeah, Jimmy Mullis is not too far behind him either. Almost, I would say, working in tandem, but they're trying to get through this field quick. Two guys that had a lot of speed practice.
A lot of speed as, Justice into the wall at Champions Corner, and that's something that wall has seen a lot of contact previously, and it's passed and it will continue to do so as hard contact is going to be hurting that 16 machine. And now you've got yourself Maroney trying to get around, as well as Mullis Oh, I thought
was
one another. There
contact.
goes Justice.
Oh no, took him out a little bit, and
And that's
that might
Mullis that
collect
got
Jimmy
stuck as
Wallace. Yep.
well. Yeah.
Oh, and that 46, that's tough. But you know, the thing here, Sam, is if you're going to have these issues, it's only lap 2. You still got 28 laps to recover. You want to have these issues before everything gets spread out, obviously. They're going to lose some time, but it is, doable to make it up as long as they aren't too badly damaged.
Checking up on the 41 machine, our full sitter, Brian Mercurio. You actually got to see there on screen. That was the 14 of Michael Finlayson that was having some issues as he almost dumped it into the wall. But this is the start of your second pack. Your first pack, though, is almost 4 seconds ahead of these guys, and they're just pulling away further and further.
Yeah, and this front group, Sam, is looking really good. Brian LaPrade, I tell you what, in practice I watched him. He was kind of struggling a bit, trying to hit his zones, but so far out in the lead, he's been on point.
On point, feeling good, and he's got a lot of machines that are hunting him down as we're on the back gearbox of that 19 machine. And that is almost a second gap lead that he's got on the rest of this field, or I mean the rest of this pack that he's with. As Mobile going back, it looks like back for the battle for 9th place. You've got Cosmin Ishinoshu as well as the 14 of Michael Finlayson side by side coming to this last chicane.
Now, Cosmin was the guy that told us last week after his surprise P2 at Daytona that he'd finished last year. So far for Cosmin, he's making it work. Oh, got a little too hot there. What a move by Jimmy Bowles to make sure he didn't plow him.
Well, Mullis has a lot of front-end damage after hitting the side of Derek Justice. And then you got Justice side by side with the 24 as well there. But you look on the back bumper of the 14 of Finlayson, he's got some damage there as well. So a lot of these machines early in this race already with some damage being put down. But as we're 3 laps into this run, it's only 30 laps that these drivers are running, so they have to make their moves here quick as Justice into the wall again.
Yeah, Justice he's pushing. He's trying to make sure that he makes up some time, but you got to be real careful with that. You can't just, sit there and throw it around, or else you're going to have the damage he's got right now.
And now we're actually going to move up to 5th place. Second in points, excuse me, of Jacob Fisher. That 84 machine is up front and seeing a lot of that 00 getting loose there, as Cooley's going to be losing that position to the 84.
Well, and you just tell, we talked about how this is a bit of a tough track. You mentioned the constant chicanes almost, and the nice hairpin right here that you'll see that leads into that long straight. I've driven this track in these cars, and Sam, it is tough. Even if you're at the top of your game and you know what you're doing, you've got to really be on point in terms of knowing how to flow with this track, when to be on the bumps in the corners, and when not to be.
And they're going to be doing a lot of trying to utilize these rumble strips the best that they can. And, watching these guys, sometimes when they hit the rumble strips, they're taking these corners.
Oh, Brian Mercurio spins it out.
Brian Mercurio in the back as that 41 machine, the last chicane where we've seen so many drivers having issues. The 41 back to 13th now.
Well, as you were talking about the rumble strips, he just straight up launched off that last chicane, and when he landed, that car just snapped around. And that's what we're talking about with the balance. You cannot, it's such a fine line, Sam. It's really hard to get it right.
Moving back up to the battle for 8th place, where you got Garrison Hogan going against Michael Finlayson. It's the 14 machine. He'll get by the 98. These drivers are going to be trying to make as many moves forward as they can. Jimmy Mullis has gotten himself up to 6th, as so many drivers in front of him have had so many issues. Derek Justice that is back to 10th place. And those drivers, these are your top 3 that we've been talking about of Fisher, Mullis, and Justice. They're all kind of having their own race at the moment, pretty split up at the moment.
Yeah, and for LaPrade right now, he's facing some good pressure up there by Nate Stewart. And I'll tell you what, Nate Stewart was a guy that we started 4th, didn't really talk about too much. He put down a decent, qualifying lap, and he's looked a little bit smoother, Sam, getting in and out of these chicanes so far than LaPrade, and that's why I think he's starting to creep up on him a bit more.
Yeah, and you even brought it up of these drivers. Of Breyer looking like he was kind of struggling during practice, but practice can sometimes be deceiving to us broadcasters, because usually during that time the drivers are pushing those machines to the maximum maximum of their potential and sometimes always over what they should be doing. And then during the race, they've really figured it out better than anyone else.
Well, the good ones, that's what they do, Sam. I mean, they push it in practice and figure out their limits. That way, as you mentioned, they can kind of dial it back for the race and then have a good sense of what they can and can't do.
And we're actually going to trot back again, as it looks like Michael Finlayson on the back bumper of Aaron Mulrooney. And Mulrooney, someone that was being super consistent until last week, where it was hard for a lot of drivers. Last week at Daytona, a wild card race number 6 of the season, and it hurt Mulrooney the most, as last week finishing back in 26th position. Really not where he wanted to finish, as he was up front for most of that race.
Well, just to illustrate that point further, Sam, he went into that race points leader based off the consistency you're mentioning. But because of that Daytona performance, he came out 18 points back in the lead, 5th place in points. And that's, we mentioned that last week, just how one of those days at a track like Daytona could really cost you.
It really can. Luckily, there's still a lot of time out here in the season, as this is a 20-round season these drivers are going to go through. And so there's still plenty of time for these drivers to make up any momentum that could have been lost last week, as this is only race number 7 of the season.
Yeah, and that's, it's one of those deals you want to get it out of the way early, right, if you're going to struggle. So you could make a bit of a comeback. Can't struggle too much.
Contact made between Jacob Fisher and Evan Rice, as it looked like Rice coming in a little too hot, making contact with the 84, but that 84's back bumper can prove that he's had a lot of contact previously.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing really early on this race, either guys banging off the wall or guys just getting it too hot. It's just, the track temp's not super crazy, Sam. I mean, we're at 99 degrees on the track temp. It's just these guys are really trying to figure out what they can do. And it's, for these stock cars, you have to throw it around this track a bit. That's what's causing some of these issues.
Yeah, drivers that are used to using open wheel cars, they always say that when they move to stock cars at road courses, it's deceivingly slow, that you have to go around these corners. You just carry so much more speed, and as well, the cars are so much heavier than what some other machines that you do road courses at.
Well, that, you factor in the aerodynamic difference, the horsepower difference, and really, you're mentioning the weight. The weight's probably the biggest gap, right? Like, you could deal with less aerodynamics, or maybe even less horsepower, more, whatever it is, but just that weight to figure out how to move with it is what makes it really tough.
As we're on board with Jimmy Mullis, he's coming and trying to pass 2 and 1 straightaway. It's the 46 machine going back from 5th place up to now 3rd, possibly, if he can get by the 8 machine around this corner.
And what's more impressive here is that despite battling the rest of the group here, the rest of the pack, he still made up 2 seconds on Briar LaPrade. Went from 10 down to 8, about 8, and maybe a little less by the time they get across the line this time. So doing a fantastic job as Jimmy, and we haven't talked much about pit stops. This is going to be kind of a traditional, one-stop race with it being 30 laps, so you can really split it up how you want in terms of if you want to push hard in the first section with a short pit, or if you want to split down the middle. Really, it's not going to matter in that sense. It's all kind of how you feel you want to use your tires.
Really, the closest action on the course is this battle between the 00 and the 84, as Fisher once was up there in 4th place, has dropped now down to 6th, and now trying to get by Cooley. And it is ridiculous to look at some of these machines and how beat up they are. As I think the most beat up back bumper has to be that 84 machine, and that must just show the difference of braking zones and braking spots between all the different drivers, and how it is not matched up for Fisher and other machines.
Well, if you watch Briar LaPrade or Nate Stewart and even Mullis at points, these guys are, dang near locking it up, Sam, in some of these corners where they're smoking that tire bit. Or at least that's what it's appearing like to us. So that tells you right there they're trying to cheat those braking zones as much as possible. At least the guys are showing, a lot of speed.
And as these guys are racing hard, also in the back they're racing hard. For 13th place, you've got Cosmin Isinoshu, who's been just slowly drifting on back. But also back here, you've got Zach McSwain, and McSwain in that 91 machine trying to make a splash up here, as he's going to be trying to recoup after last week.
Yeah, McSwain, was there at Daytona. It had some chances to quite capitalize on today. Started 19th Did get a qualifying lap down, but he's just kind of trying to take his, own time and pick them off one by one here. So far, has one of the cleaner cars it looks like on track.
And is going to continue to try to keep it clean as 91 machine on the inside will get by the 24. And looking even further back, as looks like Elliot Henderson on that 37 machine, someone that has been up front in points, fourth in points at the moment, heavy front end damage for that 37 machine, and not looking like it was the day he was looking for, and really could be losing even more points after today.
Yeah, and this is one of those races, if you're not a road course guy, if you will, that's running the series, you just, you go out there, you try to keep the car clean. As long as you don't finish dead last, you consider that a win. Not saying that Elliott doesn't have any road course skill. It's just one of those deals where some guys, you get to this race, the goal is not necessarily to win, it's to survive, right?
Yeah, it really is. Speaking of a car that really has been struggling to survive, I think you have to go back to 17th place, where we've got Timmy, who we saw qualify decently well for today's race, but all the way back in 17th place at the moment.
Yeah, no, it looks like Pacquioli back here is just, Sam, from what I'm seeing, hadn't quite figured out the race pace, right? Like, oh, that was a big save right there, the big wiggle. But, you could figure out how to push it for a qualifying pace and make it stick for a lap or two, but you can't do that, over the course of a 10-lap run here at Montreal. So that's maybe kind of what he struggled with the most, I think.
And that's just a couple of the cars that are running in the back of the field. Moving back up front, though, it looks like Jacob Fisher losing another position, but this time to the 14 of Michael Finlayson. And Finlayson's been slowly making his way forward as well with other machines, and also Rice and Cooley. Cooley's now on the move forward.
Yeah, and how about Cooley? Had a great performance at Daytona right up there till the end. Kind of got a bit of a tough break, but he's trying to answer strong here with a good performance at the road course, and sitting in points, sitting about 13th right now. So he's only a few points behind Pacquioli and Garrison Hogan and Cosmin Inoshu. So those are a couple guys that, with good performance today, he could really leapfrog and maybe crack that top 10.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers were looking for some good points days, with some of these top runners struggling a little bit here. As just looking at these guys up front, I mean, Rice now has a handful. You have for Cooley getting by him. Now you got Finlayson, who's slowly figured out this track a little bit more, and now has gotten to a rhythm. As Rice getting a little loose out of there.
Yeah, this is a tight group of racing right here. Cooley, look at him. He's trying to pull away as quick as possible. Sammy's saying, "Get me away from this right now."
Well, here's the thing. Finlayson is running about a second faster than Cooley at the moment, so he's getting a little bit nervous. Looking at lap times and where they've been putting down, fastest car on track is Jimmy Mullis of the 46. Then it would be Briar LaPrade, and then the third fastest car is actually Michael Finlayson in that 14 machine, running fifth at the moment.
Oh yeah, you got a little Fisher going at it a bit right there. Fisher kind of got in a little hot, yeah, in the hairpin, and kind of gently moved Evan Rice out of the way. You saw a little tap there from Rice, maybe, coming out of the hairpin.
And we're going to see if Rice decides to do the same thing he's been doing, which is pressure as hard as he can and possibly use his bumper to move that the 84 machine, and decides to be a little gentler that time by. But just because of their hard racing that's been going on from 4th to 6th place, it's brought in now Derek Justice, who's been in 8th place, and after clobbering the wall multiple times this race, trying to make his move forward as he's running the back
of the grass. Finlayson just gets around. Well, Cooley, sorry to cut you off, but in that chicane, it looks like Cooley hit the grass, and now he's slid back to 5th.
That's something that I've been seeing a lot of, though, from basically 4th on back, is they keep on. If they try to make a move forward, they always overshoot turn number 1 and get into the grass there, and then they lose about 4 positions. Luckily, Cooley did not lose any more than just 1 position there, and still in a fighting distance.
Well, and I think a lot of that is, Sam, is that this track really kind of narrows up on you, right? The walls kind of seemingly being on top of you, and not as much racing surface as maybe you're used to in a stock car. I think that's what we're seeing in miscalculations. Guys, when you go to Watkins Glen, there's spots where you got some, room to work, like the carousel, or a couple of the back end of the track spots. But here, it's just not the case.
It's really not. And this is a great blimp shot showing all the drivers from about 4th all the way back to 8th place, all on top of one another here and trying to figure out how to get by. Derek Justice is looking like he's one of the faster cars in this front group. But we also got to move up to the battle for 2nd place as Jimmy Mullis is slowly on the back bumper of Nate Stewart.
Yeah, Stewart's been just falling away a bit. We thought he was going to be a bit smoother than LaPrade, but he is getting looser and looser, it seems like, as this run goes on. And the track has finally hit triple digits. We are at 101 in terms of temps, so maybe that's what's missing with Nate Stewart. But you do not want to look in your rearview mirror and see a mirror full of Jimmy Mullis.
Mullis is coming, and the 13 car will go wide and just gift that spot. Stewart understanding, hey, you're the faster car. Go for it. Go for that lead because right now, that last lap, Jimmy Mullis ran a full second faster than LaPrade.
Yeah, you want to talk about a guy that make up some points, just made a smart decision. Nate Stewart right there, he's 18th in points coming into this one, Sam. So definitely kudos to him for realizing, hey, no need to fight hard right here, especially with Mullis. Lap 11, let him roll by. Stewart had a good gap back to 4th.
And a driver that did come into the pits, it's going to be Dustin Hall. That was about 3 laps ago. And this is around the time that drivers will be thinking about, hey, do I want to pit at the halfway marker a little bit before then or maybe a little bit after?
Yeah, and that's what we talked about in terms of if, depends on what you feel like you could do with your car. If you want to go hard in that first stint and come in a little early like maybe Dustin Hall just did, or if you want to, be a little bit more conservative, that way you can stretch it out and then be hard on your last stint for the end of the race. It really gives you that leeway.
3 cars all on top of one another. That's the battle for 5th place. You've got Fisher, Cooley, and Justice all trying to figure out how to get by. As, oh gosh, the 84 and the 00 practically drifting in sequence there. As both of them get loose, and here comes Justice, thinking about possibly making it 3 wide here, but he needs to make this pass quick before they get to that final chicane.
Oh, and here he goes, maybe peeking for the 3 wide. This is going to get hairy, and he's going to send it.
Fully sending it in, and Justice will make the room work as it looks like the 84 backing out, deciding otherwise instead of really pushing it in any harder than he needed to.
I mean, hey, sometimes it turns into a game of chicken, right? Derek just said, hey, I'm going. You guys can decide what to do from there. And sure enough, they bowed down a bit to it.
I mean, our camera just saw it. That's the Lowe's machine of the 41. Brandon Mercurio, who we saw drift all the way back to 13th, is now up to 8th and slowly but surely catching up to Cooley.
Yeah, and he's reined it in a bit, right? Like he had that big misstep where he had dropped back a little bit due to certain instances and then had the big wheel hop and spun him out. He's recovered nicely. I don't know if he'll be able to get back up there and contend for the win like he maybe wants to after taking the pole, but you might just still be able to recover a top 5 day.
Yeah, Mercurio, I mean, just based off how the race started, he wants to get a better place than he's been. 21st in the points standings, pretty far back from where the championships, it's really where the top guys are in points, but still looking for a good day, possibly a top 5 finish, if he can really redeem the way that this started.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on here, Sam, in these next few laps. If they don't pit, Mullis has gone down to, I think we're getting close to under 5 seconds between him and LaPrade.
It's under 4 now.
Under 4, excuse me, good grief. And yeah, they're all in the same straightaway at this point, so LaPrade is going to have to start looking at his rearview mirror soon.
Yeah, no, Jimmy Mullis, he's been flying around here. And he's been able to continue to keep his pace compared to everyone else out here on the course. I will say, Jimmy Mullis, fastest car on track, easily can say that. Second fastest, though, surprisingly, is actually Brandon Mercurio in the 41 machine. He's the second fastest than everyone else, pretty close on lap times compared to everyone else.
Yeah, Mercurio, we just talked about how he maybe has figured it out again after having those early issues. So, it's still early enough in the race where if something goes wrong for LaPrade or Mullis, Mercurio can keep that pace, maybe make up some spots in the transition of pit stops. He could be a guy to watch out for at the end. I mean, you just never know with these road courses, right? As you see LaPrade up front, I'm watching him. He just got a little loose. So, it'll be interesting to see when guys start really coming in for pits here.
LaPrade there, it's Mullis in that same shot. And Jimmy Mullis is coming. It's less than 2.5 seconds. That 46 machine might catch up to the 19 right when they have to come to the pit stops, which isn't even a safe place for these drivers. Pit stops are going to be still tricky, a possible chance to really make or lose a race.
Well, it's not only tricky in, Sam, but it's also a little tricky coming out too. With the coming out kind of in the corner a little bit. So definitely gonna have to be careful. But there's a lot of time to be gained if you can do it right.
And doing it right is what these drivers are going to aim for. As right now, Jimmy Mullis is almost got less than a second and a half, but we have to drop back. Still on top of one another. Is fifth all the way back to ninth place. It's always just 5 cars in this spot that are all on top of one another, and they just can't get away.
Yeah, I mean, it's somebody tries, right? Like Will Cooley looked like he was going to get away, then he hit the grass. Now it's Justice is up there. Maybe he gets away, maybe he hits the grass. I mean, these guys have just been in that range where you can almost throw a blanket on seemingly this entire race so far.
I think Ben Layson's the only one that's been able to just clearly get away with a 4.5 second gap between himself and Justice. As a driver comes into the pits, that's gonna be Aaron Mulrooney coming in that 2 machine. Our first of the top 10 drivers decided to come into the pits.
Yeah, and he was slipping back a bit on the longer run, so maybe going to come in and try to see what fresh tires feel like and just try to make some mental notes to adjust here in the second run.
And he actually came into his pit stall very slowly for the 2, and it's a long, long pit lane that you have to go down, which could cost you a lot of time if you mess up. As more drivers in the back coming into the pits, that's going to be the 86 as well as the 24 coming in. As our battle for the lead, it's on. Mullis is there.
Now, how patient is Mullis going to play here? I mean, you're close to pit stops. You don't want to make a big mistake, trying to get that lead. So is he just going to ride the back bumper of LaPrade and just hope that LaPrade messes up, or is he going to be aggressive in taking it here?
I would imagine he's going to be pretty aggressive at this moment. I mean, why not? But at the same time, these drivers are probably going to indicate when they have to come into the pits so they don't run into each other coming in. But Mullis, back bumper the 19 of Briar LaPrade. And LaPrade's doing a great job so far, holding off. But how long can he hold off this screaming fast 46?
You're going to have to deal with, it looks like, Cosman and Pacquioli coming out of the pits. Yeah, maybe they had a bit more of a gap than I thought on them. So not have to worry about the lap cars. But yeah, it's just at this point, if you're Jimmy, how hard do you push? And he slipped up a bit in these last couple of corners. So.
I think it's mainly that he hasn't found a good spot to try to make the pass just yet. It's pretty difficult to get under someone. This course, once you get into the middle section, it's a lot more of a single file run.
Bit of bumper there.
But yeah, you got to make someone move if you want him to get out of the way, and that's the difference between stock cars and open wheels. Is you can use your bumper to get someone a little out of shape.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like you see it when you watch V8 supercars out there. Those guys get into it a bit, in situations like this. And it's pretty similar to stock car in that way. So we'll see if Mullis maybe gives him another tap here in a turn or two. Oh, maybe has the inside line.
It looks like he has it this time. Side by side, coming to the hairpin as these drivers are going to be screaming in here. And LaPrade is in the more preferred lane. But can the 46 get a run out of this corner? As there they come, LaPrade in the better spot, but they're still side by side.
Oh yeah, Mullis played that right. Really pinned LaPrade to that hairpin. Made him kind of take a funky line because of it. I think Mullis is going to benefit the most. We'll see here into the chicane.
Mullis almost ahead, and LaPrade is right there on the corner panel. Might use his bumper to move the 46 as they're going to be running over the rumble strips. And they were close. I mean, that's the one thing. If you run that hard, I think Mullis is messing with them.
Boy, I don't know. I know Mullis is talented, but I don't know if you can afford to miss with a guy like Briar, because Briar.
Mullis is still holding on to it.
Are you kidding me? Jimmy Mullis, you dog. Holy crap. He dirt tracked that one.
He messed with him on the front stretch and continues to hold on. He's just drifting around here.
And Briar's a talented driver, folks. I mean, he is on the cuffs of, world class just like Mullis is, but my goodness, Jimmy.
Cosman is going to be slowing down, causing some issues for our leaders.
These guys are slipping. It feels like we're watching a drift contest, not a stock car race.
Well, now that we've been distracted so much, I could talk about the fact that 4th through about 8th all just came into the pits. And Justice, the only one that did not, as well as McSwain, is you've got our 2 front runners, and then the lap machine of Kata Nisunoshu. These drivers are going to be running so hard. I still can't believe they're side by side as LaPrade challenging once again to gain the lead back.
Yeah, Cosmo's got to be a little bit careful here. His lap car, I know he's got fresher tires and it's tempting. Oh, and then they trade back. LaPrade had it, Sam, and they just overran the hairpin after Mullis had a big slip that cost him the lead again.
I mean, that's just a lot of pressure that gets put on where you don't know, hey, do I just give up this position or not? And it could be a factor of deciding to come in the pits this time for LaPrade. That might be why he gave up that spot as they continue to move forward on top of one another, coming through the chicanes and down the front stretch.
That car is not liking Briar LaPrade right now over those last couple rumble strips. I mean, it's really slinging them around a bit.
And a quick update on drivers that have come into the pits. A lot of them came in with pretty clean and quick pit stalls. I think Will, as the 21 car, that is Scott Taylor.
Yeah, he's off. He's got no hood on that car. If that's what you see, that's what I see. No hood.
That's what I see as well.
That is a tough rate for Scott there, running 14th in points right now. He's just not quite had the day. He's hoping for a qualified 7th. But kind of middle of the race.
Oh, really Cosman almost ran into him.
Oh, and then Cosmo's going to spin it out. A little bit of contact. Oh, saves it.
Cool. Well, you know, it's a mixture of multiple things that are going on. Both, I think Jimmy Mullis might have been just messing with LaPrade after he got the lead that first time. He was just slipping around. I think now it's more of the fact that the track is so hot and the fact that the tires, they've been out there for 17 laps.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the track temp. It's up to 104 now, folks. We were well down into the mid-90s when we started, so that's a big heat up like you're talking about. Not only that, factor in the old tires. These guys are just sliding out there if you haven't got freshies yet.
And now the only drivers that have not pitted is going to be your front 2 of Jimmy Mullis and Briar LaPrade. And really, you can gain a lot of time just based off of pit road. If you come in and actually are able to enter faster and just come in and not speeding, but still be quick into these pit stalls, you can gain time.
Oh, I thought he was coming in that time.
Oh, it's going to be LaPrade that comes in this time.
I think that's the right move by LaPrade. Let Jimmy go out there and turn a couple more, off-pace laps because, Derek Justice right now is licking his chops. He's only 27 seconds back before these guys start pitting here, and he's got a chance, Excuse me, that's not correct. Justice just pitted.
Something just went haywire with our telemetry for a second there.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, these guys, they're already pitted, especially that group that was battling forever. They're going to wind up, it looks like Nate Stewart, he's going to wind up passing LaPrade here before LaPrade comes out pit road.
Also watching the battling that's going on between the 16 and the 8, as it's looking like Derek Justice able to run out pretty clean here up front, and these drivers running as well as they can. Also, I believe that these drivers had a fast repair for this race and did not know that because a lot of these machines look spick and span after how junked up they were earlier.
Not fully surprised considering how maniacally tough this track is. I mean, even for world-class drivers like Jimmy Mullis and LaPrade and Justice, you've seen how tough it's been, so I can't fault them for that.
Absolutely not, and it's a smart play on their part to give these drivers a fast repair because it also gave us that great racing that we were seeing. But it might be just on my end. You can confirm this, Tyler, but I think we've had a couple of drivers deciding to pit and put it in the back of the wall.
Yeah, I'm seeing Eddie Kerner, Cosman Ianoshu, and Zach McSwain all out of this race officially in terms of taking them behind the wall. So tough there, for sure.
And Jimmy Mullis in the pits. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things of this track is going to eat up a lot of machines, and it decided to take those drivers out for good. And some other machines were able to use their fast repairs and continue forward. As Jimmy Mullis is in the pits, we'll see where they come out. But Brian Mercurio up to 6th place, and now sees Fisher right in front of him, the 84 machine. And Mercurio like I said, aiming for a top 5 after how this race started. I think he was hoping for a win here today, but after those early mistakes, I think 41 just would be happy with a top 5 finish.
Oh, and Nate Stewart had just taken the lead there, Sam, and he cooked it a bit into one. Just gave away another second to Briar LaPrade, who's already only 2 seconds behind Nate Stewart here.
Now, the difference between those tires on I think it was just 1 lap that Briar was on.
A lap and a half almost, yeah.
Yeah, and he's been able to gap it by about 2.5 seconds on Mullis, and Mullis actually had a decent lead on LaPrade before he came into the pits.
Well, Mullis is probably going to make it up here on the back end. We saw how fast he was trying to get through the field and really chase down Briar LaPrade, despite having to do that. So Mullis at this point, I mean, he's already closing in quick on Stewart and LaPrade. So this might be his race to lose at this point.
Dropping back to that 5th place battle, and Mercurio still not able to figure out how to get by the 84 machine. I think he might have found some momentum there. Gets to the chicane a lot cleaner than the 84, but still not close enough to make it side by side just yet.
Great battles all over the track. And LaPrade looks like he might be on Nate Stewart now.
As we move up front, coming to the last chicane, these drivers are about to hit lap 20 of being done, 11 laps to go once they cross the line, but already been showing these guys that they have been putting on a show from the start of the green to the end of it. It's just been battling everywhere on this track.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been fantastic driving, similar to what we saw last week in Daytona. You know, guys just going after it and doing their thing. And LaPrade, he's going to have to work around Stewart quick here, or else Jimmy Mullis is going to reel this battle in a lot sooner than LaPrade wants to.
Yeah, and right there, Stewart was locking up his tires, trying to slow down and blow up for that corner, and was not able to do it clean enough as LaPrade's able to get by. And now LaPrade's just praying that Stewart can hold off Mullis just for possibly a half a lap or more.
Yeah, I mean, any time that Stewart is able to save, oh, little slide by Stewart. These guys are just all over the place. And because of that, here comes Mullis on the outside.
And Mullis easily making that pass, and now up to 2nd place has LaPrade in his sights, and it's almost less than a second between 1st and 2nd place.
And a quick update back there that we were watching that battle for 5th. It looks like Mercurial finally found a way to get around Jacob Fisher.
And Fisher now trying to figure out not to run into the 4-1, but also Fisher has to worry about Derek Justice and that 16 machine as the Baskin-Robbins is trying to figure out which direction should I be taking this pass.
Yeah, for Justice, this is a pretty good recovery considering what happened in the first part of that race, get involved with, that incident with him and Mullis, and he's recovered to challenge him for a top 5 potentially.
Yeah, he spun out in front of Mullis, and then he clobbered the wall multiple times coming out of these corners. 16 machine, happy to see this fast repair, giving himself a second chance out here with these drivers. And as this is our closest battle right now between Derek Justice and Jacob Fisher, there's more battles going on behind them, as Will Cooley and Evan Rice have decided to bring in another pack of cars behind Derek Justice and these guys, as Justice able to get by Fisher.
Yeah, and how about Justice just picking them off. For Fisher, though, this is going to be a little frustrating. Only came in, 2 points behind Mullis here, and he thought, based off starting position, where Mullis had to start deeper in the field, maybe he could take advantage of that. Just hasn't come to fruition, right? Just hasn't worked out that way. So for Fisher, he just wants to make sure he doesn't lose any positions.
Yeah, Derek Justice 3rd in points. He's 7 points back from Jimmy Mullis, so he's trying to move up even closer into the top 5 so he doesn't lose more points on that 46 machine. But Jimmy Mullis right now is just taking the lead over Briar LaPrade, and Jimmy Mullis leads the points, has 2 wins this season. He has 1 at Darlington, and I believe the other one was at Phoenix. Let me confirm that. Yeah, at Phoenix, Jimmy Mullis won that one. That was round 2 and round 5 that we saw this 46 get a win at. So looking for win number 3, and just to confirm and put a stamp on the fact that Jimmy Mullis really is looking like the favorite to win this thing. But there's a lot of other hungry drivers in this field that want to fight back and really take a fight back at this 46. And I think it's in these future races that they can do that in, as the road course at Montreal is so different from any of the other courses we're going to be driving at.
Yeah, but the fat lady hasn't sung yet. Briar LaPrade still keeping on tight on Mullis here, Sam. He's just, Mullis is just a bit smoother right now. I mean, Briar's locking it up at, a couple spots here and there, which is kind of costing that lead. But I just wonder how hard truly is Mullis pushing right now compared to what, Brad is having to do just to keep up with him.
And just watching that 46 just wheeling it around, it looks like he's throwing it into these corners and it sticks almost every single time. While Briar LaPrade is trying to methodically get around these corners and sometimes is overshooting it or undershooting it. That's just costing him time, and that's 19.
Well, the difference is it's part of it is the angles, braking zones, and then just when to pick back up the throttle, right? We mentioned earlier, you were talking about how open wheel guys will come into NASCAR, stock car, and try to take on a road course like this, and they just know just the slowness that you really have to drive it with to go fast. It's almost like, driving around Martinsville or some of these short tracks where you got to go slow to go fast. And that's just kind of what we're seeing. Mullis is taking his time, where you can tell Briar is really seeming to, he's knowing it's slipping away right now, so he's trying to do everything he can, but that's just hurting him more and more as he goes on here.
Well, as we're coming to 8 laps to go, these drivers have been putting on a show all day today. Looks like they're starting to get a little bit split up. So let's do a quick rundown of where these drivers are. Jimmy Mullis in that 46 machine leading the way in first place. And he had to travel from the back of the field up to the front after not putting down a qualifying lap. And really has been a class act and the fastest car out here all race today. But second place, Briar LaPrade. That 19 machine, once he got up front, thought maybe he could pull away from everyone, but just has not been able to ever since he got caught up by the 46.
Yeah, and Nate Stewart back there in third. He's fallen off a bit from these top two, but still holding strong. I think for Nate, if he comes away with a third place or at least the top 5, that's a pretty good day. Michael Finlayson showing back there in fourth on the 14. He's a guy that I thought might make a charge here in the second half of the race. Has done well to get up to full. Started 15th, but we'll see if he can chase down Nate Stewart. I think that's kind of his ceiling potentially for this race. We mentioned Derek Justice back there, Sam, a few seconds behind Finlayson. He's had some issues, but he's rebounded after starting 11th. How about Wilson? Despite having his struggles, has made his way back up to 6th.
Yeah, he has made his way up to 6th. Was 5th at a moment, but Derek Justice able to pass by the 41 machine. And then you go back to 7th place. You got Jacob Fisher and that 84 machine. Fisher's been having an adventurous day, been around a lot of cars, had a lot of contact early in this first half of this race. But ever since pit stops, it's been looking clean for that 84 machine, but has been losing some positions. It might lose another one to this 48 machine of Will Collin. And of this 48 machine has been quiet all day, but a top 10 finish looking to be here based on the pace that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, Will Klein did start second, Sam. He just he's one of those guys early in the race that, people were bumping him and he was hitting the wall a little bit, just getting shoved around, and had some issues because that I believe he was one of those that early on had to pull off for a minute because he overran, overshot, cut the track. So he's definitely tried to fight hard here to stay in the top 10.
9th place and 10th. I mean, they've been on top of each other ever since lap about 11. And that's Evan Rice and Will Cooley. As these guys were battling back then for 5th and 6th place, now for 9th and 10th place. And both these drivers are still racing hard, and still they can't figure out who is the faster one between these two because they keep on swapping back and forth.
It's like Tom and Jerry. It's just on site, we're battling, right? That's how it's been all race for these two, no matter the position, like we talked about. Been fun to watch for sure.
It has been a blast. Back in 11th place is where we see former points leader until last week, Aaron Mulrooney Jr. in the 2. Had an adventurous day so far, and it hasn't been the top race that he's been wanting to have. Still solid points day, but might be losing some more positions on the points just based on running 11th.
Yeah, he qualified 9th, so didn't necessarily have maybe the pace he was looking for. We put down a 142.5 in qualifying compared to the Pulsar Brian LaPrade at a 140.23.9. So I think his goals, like we talked about, some guys are just like, hey, I'm going to survive. I'm that type of guy when I'm on track with these road courses. I am not a road course ace, so I definitely feel that from some of these guys.
Yeah, it's all about just finishing the race for sure. Garrison Hogan in that 98 machine, right now 12th place, has been pretty quiet most of the day. And like we've been saying, I think most of these drivers in the back, they can all say the same thing. Just here to survive and get points. Because this field could have been a lot bigger just based on all the drivers that we saw last week at Daytona. We could have had a 30-car field, if not more. But just due to the fact that some drivers not feeling too comfortable over the road course didn't show up. So great points for these drivers that are running in the back.
Yeah, and how about you see Elliot Henderson and Timmy Pacioli back there. Those are two guys. That type of mentality. Pacioli, we know we've seen him have some struggles. He's still hanging on to the lead lap, and finishing 14th in a day where, like you mentioned, a lot of guys are missing. That's not a bad day. I mean, it maybe doesn't feel good at the end of the day, but comparatively in the long run, that you'll take it.
Yeah, Piccoli's going to be the last car on the track and on the lead lap. Car in the pits trying to get repairs done and looks like trying to get back out there. And that's Scott R. Taylor in the 21. We saw him drive it off and dump it into the wall in front of our leaders about 10 laps ago. A 21 machine getting back on course and just trying to survive the end of this race. As we move back up to the front, Jimmy Mullis still leading the way and pulling away. When we last saw it, the gap was about 1 to 2 seconds. It's now 7 seconds now since we got done with our little rundown of the rest of the field as we got 6 laps to go in this race.
Yeah, and it's like I said earlier, once the pit cycled through, just based on the pace in the first stint, felt like it was Mullis's race to, Mullis's race to lose, and he was just made good on putting that gap between him and LaPrade. The track temp, though, keeps rising. We're up to 106 on this track temp, so it'll be interesting to see if anybody else slips up. So far, guys have been pretty steady. Looks like the closest battle, we got a couple of close battles.
And that battle for 7th is crazy as well. As Klein able to make the pass on the 84, and then we're going to move up to Justice, as it looks like the 48 was able to get that pass done. Mercurio able to run back Justice for that 5th place position, and looking like he's hungry to finally make that move as Justice trying to hold off the 41 machine.
Yeah, Justice is fighting here to make sure that he holds off that 41. I can tell he really wants to at least come away with the top 5 type of day, but Mercurio, based off qualifying, we know he had good pace. Maybe struggled a little bit in the early part of it trying to figure out the race pace, but he's definitely dialed it in the back half.
Definitely has, and these drivers throughout the race, like they've taken so much knowledge of
that slide by Mercurio. I'm sorry, boy, he dirt tracked it, and he's gonna lose a little bit.
That's the slickness of the track because of the heat, and also because the rumble strips are practically just paint, really, with a little bit of lift on it. So if you hit that the wrong place when this track gets so hot, it's gonna just slide you around like we just saw.
Yeah, we've seen it a couple times today, right? Mercurio has been a victim of it. You land off the rumble strips wrong, or like you mentioned, you slide a little bit wrong, and all of a sudden you're around. So definitely been a tightrope for these guys today.
I get that it's summertime, slipping and sliding in the sun is fun, but let's try to keep our cars good to make it to the end here.
I don't know if I've ever heard a stock car driver, at least on, asphalt, say, well, sliding around like that's a blast. The dirt guys, the guys that have the dirt background. I mean, we did, what was it? Oh, goodness. We did that Flatout Racing event and had Max McLaughlin in there. He's a dirt guy. He loves sliding around on that track at Kentucky, but not everybody's like that. Yeah,
we've seen a couple of dirt track throughout our FRN days, and it's been fun watching those dirt track guys, but here at a road course, you kind of want to keep your car stable and not be dirt tracking it. But luckily, everyone is keeping it pretty stable, as it looks like Justice now making that gap almost a second. And now it's all about just hitting your marks, staying consistent, because it's 4 laps to go in this race. And you can make it to the end here perfectly fine with a lot of drivers. Looking at how long they've been out there on track, everyone should make it on fuel to the end from here on out. But can they make it with how much they've been slipping and sliding with how much the track has been heating up?
Yeah, and speaking of heating up, that battle for third might be coming down to the wire here as Michael Finlayson has just been slowly reeling in Nate Stewart, and all of a sudden, Finlayson's under 2 seconds here to Stewart.
And looking at the lap times that are being put down, Finlayson running actually faster than the drivers in front of him. The only car he's not running faster than is our leader. But don't look back now because Derek Justice is actually running faster than you, Finlayson. But luckily it's not a second, or he would be on your back bumper.
Yeah, but Justice, who knows, right? I mean, if Finlayson and Stewart get to battling here and they may come some contact, all of a sudden Justice might kind of slip his way into third.
Well, it's like you've got Justice coming up, right? And then you got Mercurio that's right on Justice's bumper and really not giving him any space to breathe because if Justice just makes one slip up, he's back there again.
Ooh, yeah, he got a little high there coming out of the corner. Mercurio, give him credit. He is doing all he can to try to wrangle that fifth spot.
I mean, it's always fun watching Justice and Mercurio race with one another. We actually do different broadcasts for them on Saturdays. So it's always fun to see them dicing it back and forth, the side by side. They're coming here to this chicane, and Mercurio in the better position.
See if he can make it stick though here. If Justice is going to fight back, and Mercurio maybe has to run out. It looks like he's got the spot.
Will have it and secures that position for 5th place. That's right, these guys are only battling for 5th place because the driver that's leading this thing, Jimmy Mullis, that gap is now up to 10.5 seconds. A little bit more than that, actually, at the moment.
I mean, we just knew with the fire he was driving was trying to come through the field that if he got near that lead, it was going to be good luck trying to wrangle it back from him. And he's really put it on him here in the second half of the race.
As we're watching this battle for 5th place still continue on, we're actually going to drop back as it looks like Cooley had some issues in the double zero machine. He was on the back bumper of Evan Rice for the longest time, and looks like he slipped up and now is back almost 3 seconds. So we're actually going to move back up front as Michael Finlayson is now less than a second on the back bumper of that 13 machine, looking to get a top 3 finish.
Coming down to 2 to go here, you know Nate Stewart is going to do all he can to not give up that spot, and pretty much with the about 5-second gap between them and Mercurio, I wouldn't be worrying about Brian back there. It's just all for this battle.
All for the battle for 3rd, the battles for 5th place. I mean, these little mini battles in the middle of the field, it's all going to go down here as it's laps to go. Jimmy Mullis feels comfortable with a 12-second lead on Brian LaPrade. LaPrade's feeling comfortable because he's got a 10-second gap lead on Nate Stewart. He has slowly been chipping away and gaining time, making that gap bigger as Finlayson needs to start hitting his mark because he's losing time on getting up to this 13 machine.
Yeah, he is, and he's maybe gotten one of those spots where he pushed hard enough that the tires are now even, and if that's the case, it's going to be really hard to get up there and challenge for that 3rd spot. Something to watch too. Finlayson and Brad both in a spot to really gain some positions here. Mulroney Jr. obviously having a not quite the day you'd hope for, near top 10, but maybe a little bit higher. Finlayson's about 4 points behind him, so Finlayson has a good chance to crack the top 5 here. And also Elliot Henderson, who was sitting at 4th in points coming into this one. He's had a bit of a tough day compared to some of these guys. So for Finlayson, for LaPrade up there, and the Mercurials of the world, they might gain some nice points here in this race.
And as we're talking about points and coming to the end, as it looks like that 37 machine, was put a lap down. So only 12 cars on the lead lap as Jimmy Mullis is on the white flag here, taking it to the lead. And ever since he got the lead, this 46 machine has just looked dominant and has been pulling away from the rest of the field like it's nothing.
Yeah, just spectacular performance here from Jimmy Mullis. Tip your cap to Brian LaPrade. He did all he could, especially there right before pit stops to hold off Jimmy. But man, it's tough to hold off a guy like that.
It really is. I mean, yeah, you thought maybe there was something there for LaPrade, but just looking at it looks like LePrad really was pushing so hard at the beginning of this stint on those tires that he really just overused them to where he could not catch up or stay with Jimmy Mullis at the end of this race. As Jimmy Mullis coming around the last couple of corners here, it's got to be feeling good. He's going to be, if he can get through these last couple of corners, win number 3 of the season, already leading points. So that's going to extend even further. And it probably will no longer be just a 5-point gap between himself and second place anymore.
Yeah, and quick note too, it looks like Finlayson got around Stewart there.
Able to get it done. Stewart's going to be fighting back. But coming across the line, it's going to be Jimmy Mullis getting the win here at the Montreal Grand Prix.
Briar LePrad looks like he'll be able to get through his last couple corners clean, bring home a very nice second place, and then it comes down to that battle for third, and it looks like Finlayson down this last stretch, Sam, he might have locked it up here. We'll see what Stewart does.
Stewart throwing it in. He's going to just skip to the corner and then back out. He knew he couldn't actually do it. He was too far back, but Stewart had thought about making things look a little bit more interesting. Top 5 finisher is going to be Brian Mercurio, and what a great day that he had, having to bob and weave his way around Stewart there after crossing the line. Other battles that possibly are going to be coming down to the wire, as it actually is over. 48 machine goes for a ride. It takes off.
That's a good way to end the day. Just send it, right?
Fully sent, did not care. Who else is going to send it? Evan Rice, you're set up. Are you going to send it? Oh, no, he's going to slow down and not.
Evan Rice had a clean car at the end, so if you got a clean car at the end, it's all about getting those screenshot pics. There goes
Oh, here comes McCool. Are we going to see the 2 do it?
Might see the 98. That might be the next candidate here. Yeah, here comes
Mulrooney. Mulrooney's going to just take the safe route and not absolutely destroy it. And the last car coming around the corners here is going to be the... Oh, and the 98 going to get around the last chicane safely. And now just send it. I mean, your car's already jumped up. Might as well.
How about Garrison Hogan? Started 18th, last car on the grid. Gained 6 spots. That's a solid day to finish 12th right there in that 98.
Completely. I mean, if you're going to be starting in the back, might as well continue fighting forward. Don't let the end of this race show where you never know where you're going to be at the end of the race. But that Jimmy Mullis is your winner, and after the fun we got to watch there at the end, we are going to be bringing in some interviews for drivers in the back, starting out with Michael Finlayson. Michael, you got yourself a 3rd place finish. You got us, bud? Michael, it's Sam and Tyler. You got us?
Hey, what's happening?
Well, we saw you fighting. Started this race to the end, trying to gain every single position. You had a fast machine. Do you think there was anything else that you could have done at the start to maybe help yourself get a better finish than 3rd?
The only thing I could have done better was actually complete a Q lap. I just screwed up on both my Q laps and had to start, I think it was 15th, so I had to drive through the field a lot. And those first few laps, obviously, on any road course aren't too pretty because you're stuck in traffic. But that was probably the only thing that would have helped, like maybe a P2 or something. But Jimmy was just flat out hauling. Just glad I could get up to P3. I didn't even think I could even get that far. But they were pretty quick. I know when Jimmy was going through the field, I wasn't like too far off of him, but glad to get a P3. I don't know where that puts us in points, but hopefully it helps.
Yeah, it's going to help you a lot for points, just because some of the guys that are in front of you didn't have the best days that they were hoping for. But Michael, I mean, it seemed like at the middle of this race, you were caught up in that battle between 8th to about 4th place. How was it trying to drive through all of those machines that were all right on top of one another?
Yeah, it was pretty difficult. I tried to just get through it as quick as I could. I knew I was quicker because I saw Jimmy right up the road from me. He passed like those 3 or 4 cars in a matter of half a lap. So I'm like, right when I caught him, I had to do the same thing, and I think it took me a lap, so it wasn't that bad. But I was a little concerned at the beginning of that first or the second run because I was just trying to save my stuff, and I know Derek was racing me in the first run, and he was catching me pretty quick, but I thought I was racing Derek at that point, but somehow caught an 8, just saved my stuff a little better, and I thought I wasn't gonna get him, but that last lap, I just didn't mat it off that one corner and just got right under him and went on through. But thanks to him for racing me clean. It was the last lap for P3, so I know it was probably pretty good points and everything. So thanks to JD and thanks to everybody for showing up, and thanks to you guys for broadcasting. I know you guys are doing this just off your own hands. We'll find a way to pay you back here soon. Thanks for putting our name out there. This league's pretty good. Next week we got an Iowa doubleheader, so it should be fun. Also, thanks to New England Racing Fuel, I got my better paint scheme on this week. So, Sunoco Race Fuels, Lockdown Racing, JDR Graphics, everybody.
Well, Tyler, you got any more questions for Michael?
I just got one question for you, Michael. How was it going from Daytona to transition immediately into Montreal here and trying to take down this road course?
Pretty tough. We had to wake up pretty early last week, like 5 in the morning to race. So, coming to this week, I mean, it was a lot of fun because the setup, thanks to Taylor for building the setup, Taylor Hurst. He made this thing to where you could put it on 3 wheels and it'd be fast, and it was a lot of fun just racing on balloons in some corners. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun to drive. I mean, I had no practice before tonight, so I just came in here pretty much blindfolded and messed up both Q laps. So I'll take that on me. But it was pretty fun to drive. I knew once you get in the groove and race, I think 30 laps was a perfect length. We shortened it a little bit, but I think that was a perfect length, and it made for a good race.
It was awesome racing for us to watch. And before we let you go, Michael, we want to make sure you get everyone that you need a shout out. So again, the floor is yours.
Alright, I'll do it again. Why not? Obviously, first, thanks to you guys. I know broadcasts nowadays aren't free, and you guys are doing it for us. Thanks a lot to you guys. If you guys want to come back next week, you're free to. Like I said, we'll pay you back at some point. It's just this COVID thing's really screwing us, like personally. But thanks to New England Racing Fuel, Sunoco Race Fuels. They're great partners. JDR Graphics for painting my schemes. Not this one in particular, but he paints all my other cars. And Lockdown Racing, all those guys, Jimmy Breyer, is good to sweep the podium, and we're still keeping our Lockdown Racing streak somehow of winning races in this series. I think it's like 7 in a row now. So, yeah, thanks to those guys. They've been great teammates for over a year now, or almost a year. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, that's Michael Finlayson in the 14 machine getting a third place finish here today. And it's been a blast watching you guys race every single week, and go celebrate this podium finish.
Thanks, guys.
Next up is going to be Briar LaPrade. Briar, it's Sam and Tyler up in the booth. You got us?
Yes, I do.
Well, that seemed like you were up front feeling good until you saw the 46 machine show up. Was there anything you possibly could have done to hold off that fast machine?
Probably full throttle him into turn 1. That was about it. No way I was gonna keep up with them. I knew from the beginning. Just I literally told him not to qualify. That way he could start from the back and at least have a shot at it. But I didn't expect to be that fast. So I'm happy with it. But yeah, just Jimmy's too good on road courses. Gonna do much.
Yeah, I mean, after Jimmy passed you, it seemed like you guys were struggling to hold on to your, or just having fun drifting it all over the place. How was that after Jimmy passed and you guys were just slipping and sliding next to one another?
Yeah, it was a fun little brawl. I was surprised we were that even. I figured once he got around me, it'd be getting away, but literally the only way I could just try and keep up with him was just trying to rough him up. And obviously just not destroy him. That would be completely wrong. But yeah, just trying to rough him up was the best idea, to try and keep him within reach. And I was hoping that short pit would have worked a little bit better. But yeah, he just took me on a walk in the park and beat me by like 10, 11 seconds, something crazy.
Yeah, 18.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, yikes.
Yeah, it looked like you just pushed your car so much at the start of that last stint that your tires fell off the end while his just continued to push forward. But Tyler, you got any more questions for Briar?
Yeah, man, Briar, I know you probably would consider yourself maybe a road course ace, but is there anything you've kind of done to, really work on that side of your skills, or has it been more of tonight was just kind of a nice surprise performance for you?
Sort of surprised. Like I usually, when it comes road course time for the Coke Series, I got Jimmy Mullis to watch. I got Christian Challenger to watch, Corey Vincent, Zach Novak. I got all those tools, and usually just being able to test with them and watch them attack these road courses that they do in the Coke Series is always fun to watch. And I sort of kind of figure out, ideas, and just being able to watch them drive. I kind of just adapt with that and figure it out.
Yeah, Briar, it's a solid day today. I know it wasn't a win, but I think a top top 3 finish is still solid for you. Before we let you go, we're going to hand the floor off to you for any shout-outs.
The Burton Kligerman Esports program, Valvoline, Rick Motec Simulators, Connecticut Realty Trust, JDR Graphics, and what was on the hood tonight, ledforbilliardsplay.com. Check them out. Use Patriot at checkout for your discount. And you guys for streaming and Lockdown Racing.
That's Briar LaPrat in the 19 machine, getting a second place finish here today. A nice solid podium finish. You have a good night there, Briar, and try to celebrate this one.
You too. Later.
Solid day for Briar LaPrat, and now we're going to be bringing in our winner here today. Jimmy Mullis, it's Sam and Tyler. You got us?
Yes, sir.
I mean, it looked like you had a little bit of a challenging day today. Didn't qualify, but you got to work your way throughout the field. How was that experience going throughout the field?
It was pretty exciting. Yeah, in Q, I actually grabbed the wall a little bit. But yeah, the race, it was just all about just being smooth and consistent and being patient. Because I felt like I had, good pace to be able to contend if I, just kept the fenders on it. And luckily, I was able to do that. And luckily, I'm sitting here with you guys.
I mean, it looked like the track was evolving a lot from the start of the race to the end of it. It was just getting hotter and hotter. How was it on your end with trying to handle a machine that just wants to slide on you?
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely, the track was getting a lot slicker in my opinion, as the run went on. And I think that's kind of what leans in my favor is, I put a lot of time into running stock cars in general, and then having them on road courses is probably one of my favorite things to do on iRacing. So, um, there, when it started to get really loose on corner exit and stuff, I was able to gain a lot of time on people, I would notice. So, yeah, I think it definitely played in my favor more than it did in others.
And Tyler, got any questions?
Yeah, Jimmy. So, you just mentioned talking about loving the stock car, road racing aspect. You seem to be one of the most aggressive guys, if not the most, on the rumble strips, on the big bumps there, the chicanes. What do you really contribute to being able to do that as flawlessly at times as you do?
I think it just has a lot to do with my mindset. I'm very aggressive with my driving in these cars because these things seem to like being thrown around a lot. So I kind of just go in there and hope that I hit the angle correctly every time when I go at the curbs. And like I said, I have a lot of laps, so I think that makes it a lot easier in terms of not being scared to be aggressive on the curbs because obviously you hit them wrong, you'll go flying into a wall, which is what happened to me in qualifying. Um, but yeah, it's just like I said, a lot of laps and just knowing kind of what the cars want each and every lap is definitely what helps me in those situations.
Yeah, Jimmy, I mean, last question on my side of things. We saw once you got by Briar there the first time, you guys were kind of slipping and sliding everywhere. Was that just because your tires were so worn down, or were you guys just having fun drifting it?
Yeah, my tires were gone at that point. And then he gave me a shot down into one because, um, he wanted to see if he could have a shot at me if he got me loose. And it took me a couple corners actually to finally get my grip back. I guess that's kind of something with V7, I believe. But no, it was all good fun. I expected it. I was excited when he hit me because I knew it was going to be a brawl. It's always fun to get in these and race with Briar. We've had a good couple of weeks here in the ASCORS League.
Well, Jimmy, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout out.
Oh, as always, I got to give a huge thank you to Richmond Raceway Esports, Richmond Raceway, Sim Seats, Sunoco, Coca Cola Energy. You guys for doing the broadcast, JDR Graphics for all the paint schemes that he does for me, as well as JD for putting this league on. Him and Mike do a great job, just putting everything together as far as Xfinity and the Dirt Midget Series goes. And um, again, want to thank you guys and thank everybody in the race for a great, clean race, and look forward to next week.
Well, that's Jimmy Mullis in the 46 machine getting your win here today at Montreal, giving his third win of the season. Let's see if you can get your fourth one next week at Iowa. And Tyler, it's been a wild day today. I mean, we saw action from this drop of the green to the end of this race. I mean, what are some of your final thoughts as we're wrapping up?
Oh, that's just, NASCAR road racing at its best right there, guys. Slipping and sliding around, throwing some bumpers. Kind of, a little bit no holds barred, right? Nothing too crazy though in terms of dirty racing. I mean, just nice field going at it, and those guys just like they did Daytona last week, really showing off and flexing their skills.
I mean, that's what you get from some of the top tier racers on the sim. I think they perfectly said it. It was a brawl today. We saw there on that first stint for these guys. And a lot of them were using their bumpers a lot more than I think we were expecting. I think it's just because they had that fast repair in their back pocket so they could run clean at the end. But it was fun to watch those first 10 to 15 laps because they were using their bumper any way that they could.
Oh, no doubt about it. And that's just that's always great. When you got guys confident around each other, they could just sit there and, throw those bumpers, throw those blocks, whatever. Makes for some amazing action.
And I just want to say thank you, Tyler, for being on board with here today. But don't worry, Finlayson was asking for us if we were going to be back for more racing, and we will next week. It's going to be the Iowa Speedway doubleheader, and we are proud to say we will be back for that one. It's going to be a fun one, September 9th. Doubleheader at Iowa. I mean, that's, again, we went from Daytona to Montreal, and now we're going to a short track at Iowa.
Well, and that's the best when a schedule's like that because, man, does it keep guys on their toes, right? I mean, it makes you challenge yourself every week as a driver, knowing that you're facing such a diverse group of track types.
Well, Tyler, I want to say thank you for being in the booth with me here tonight. It was a fun 30 lap race.
Oh, yeah. Never get tired of getting to do these and, getting to do it with such a great team as Flatout Racing Network.
Well, my name is Sam Dyer. That's Tyler Riggs. And you got to see a Montreal race here for the ASCORS Grand National Series. And the more action, like we said, next week continues on with a doubleheader at Iowa. But if you want more action tomorrow, we've actually got the Fuel iRacing Series, guys. They're going to be having a great show at 9 p.m. Eastern, as well as there's going to be more action in the NR version, the NR 2003 guys in the mod series are actually going to be doing some dirt racing on their end. So get a little bit of both actions tomorrow night. But like I said, for myself, Sam Dyer, Tyler Riggs, thank you for watching another presentation of the Flatout Racing Network, and have a great rest of your night.